back, just imagine that you are a 5th grader. You just got home and you are doing your homework. You take out your paper and you realize you don't remember anything that your teacher taught you that day. You go to your parents, you ask them for help. They have no clue how to help you. With our Common Core standards, the work just gets tougher for parents aren't able to help, so it's with my project that I am hoping to alleviate any of those stress issues and problems that the students may have. My original project was designed to provide videos for students to access outside of class time. I would record lessons from class, and they would be able to go home and get on Edmodo to see those videos and be able to access the videos and be able to do their work. But what I realized was my project is much more than just having videos for them to watch at home. Research shows that students without a teacher in the classroom, they're not going to perform as well. So I wanted to create the videos that way if I'm outside of the classroom like I am today, they're going to be able to view the videos and be able to do their lessons without my help. So here are some screencasting apps, screenshots that I have created. And all of these are posted on Edmodo. Students are able to access them at any time. They can use their device, they can use the iPads, which I've got from the ARI grant. For my project, I left one class a traditional lesson, and another class had a virtual teacher lesson. And I was at a training, not within the classroom, and the traditional lesson just completed their paper and pencil work. The virtual teacher lesson, I created a lesson on converting measurements. And they were able to watch the video, they were able to pause, they were able to take notes, and then they were able to come back in and do their practice work. What I found out from my research was that the traditional class scored a 33% on their pre-test and a 47% on their post-test. Their growth percentage was only 14%. However, my virtual teacher class scored a 23% on the post-test, or pre-test, and a 79% on the post-test. Their growth percentage was 56%. The virtual teacher class scored 42% higher on their growth than the traditional class, and the virtual teacher class scored 32% higher on the post-test than the traditional class. Not only that, but each individual in the virtual teacher class had an individual growth of 26% higher from their pre to their post-test. The students were also given a survey upon my arrival back inside of the classroom. The students from the traditional class said that they learned less without their teacher there. They said that their work was hard and that they could have done better if their teacher was there. However, the virtual teacher class, the students said that they loved that they had their videos to watch because it was like their teacher was actually teaching them, but through a video. And the work was helpful. And it actually taught them a lot. So from my data, I found that using the technology makes a much bigger impact than what I had originally imagined. Students made significant gains from the virtual teacher class. I realized that technology is powerful, and using it within the classroom, your options are limitless. So it led me to do a little bit more research. I started to research more about blending learning, using a flipped classroom, and using project-based learning within the classroom. Research tells us that students need critical thinking skills, creativity, communication skills, and they need to be able to collaborate together. Teachers also need to be able to step back from being the sage on the stage to the guide on the side, and it's hard to do. Teachers need to teach through technology instead of with technology. Students need to be the focal point and let the students use that technology. Teachers need to spend time creating the learning activities and doing so will create more depth of learning and higher retention. Students need to be the ones that are creating, discovering, and exploring with your activities. And you need to give them a purpose, an authentic audience. So I created another research project. For this project, I also had a traditional paper and pencil class, and then I also had a blended learning and project-based learning class. What I realized was the differences between the two classes. It was inevitable from the very first day of the class. It was so noticeable. I realized that during the traditional class, I spent 66% of my time in lecture or guided practice with my students. But in my project-based learning and my blended learning class, over 80% of my time, or actually over 80%, was the students working and the students actually doing the activities. In the project-based learning class, the students were bakers. We did a fractions unit. They were the bakers. We took a virtual tour of Cake Boss, and we talked about cooking. We used measuring cups to do equivalent fractions. Students looked at recipes. Some of the recipes had the measurements in improper fractions. They had to change those back into mixed numbers. We talked about local bakeries. We talked about sales. And we talked about everyday problems that were encountered from bakers. And what I realized was the students were very excited. They were engaged. They were so excited to learn about baking and cooking. It's something real world, and it's something related towards them. Again, both classes took the same quiz. On the first quiz, the traditional class scored a 67%, then a 79% on the second quiz, and a 72% on the third. But the project-based learning class and the blended learning class scored an 80%, a 96%, and an 86%. So as you can see, the project-based learning and the blended learning class scored an average of 15 percentage points higher on each quiz. Overall, the traditional class averaged out 73%, while the blended learning and the project-based learning class averaged an 87% on all three quizzes, which is a gain of 14%. The students also took a survey. 85% feel confident about the material after watching videos, but before coming to class to do the activities. 88% of the students said that the class setup was helpful to their learning. And 100%, every one of the students said that using the Mondo Pad and the iPads within the classroom was helpful to their learning. Data shows that the blended learning model and the project-based learning has improved the learning outcomes. The classroom became a student-centered place of learning where the students explored real-world challenges. We also completed QR code scavenger hunts. We had QR code coupons. We used Skype in the classroom to talk with my cousin over in Germany. She did a metric system lesson, and she was able to talk about the difference between the customary system and the metric system. We've used iPad apps. We used Book Creator to create a book from a field trip that we went on. iPad was used wirelessly with the Apple TV. We had interactive lessons on the Mondo Pad. Students presented with the Mondo Pad, used the iPads to create videos themselves. But the impact is far beyond my classroom. I feel empowered to provide a full year of blended learning and project-based learning next year. I want to do more with personalized learning. I attended a training on personalized learning, and that's one thing I want to incorporate fully next year. I've also gained a one-to-one digital learning classroom. I want to do more with students working individually, one-to-one on their Chromebooks. Students learn valuable skills that will empower them for the success in their future. And they are the future, and their future is bright. I want to thank you to ARI for the opportunity to impact my classroom and the students for years to come. And thank you for coming to listen to my presentation.